Welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Fourth Wall I'm 𝗕𝗲𝗶𝗀𝗄𝗃.
I'm 𝗕𝗲𝗶𝗋𝗄.
We are the co-artistic directors of Fourth Wall Theater. We always do that. And
well.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's going
That's
well.
the way it is. All right. Tonight our guest is Fourth Wall regular and wonderful artist that we enjoy having with us on stage as much as we possibly can, and our friend Drake Simpson. Welcome, Drake.
Hi, Drake.
Hello.
Thanks for being here. So we're going to talk tonight about a bunch of stuff, but why don't we just start with we never start with this question. Who in your life turned you on to theater, or was your theatrical mentor? And what happened to make you an actor?
His name is 𝗕𝗲𝗆𝗀𝗆. When I was in high school, I played football as well. And in our school in Texas, I was kind of a small school. And so we only did a fall show and one act play contest. And because I played football, I was never able to be in the fall show. And my sophomore year, I was cast in the one act, and I was like, this is pretty cool. Before I was just glad to be in theater because there were a lot of girls in the class. And then, and so that's actually why I signed up from 9th grade to 10th grade. And then in 10th grade, I got cast in a show, and I was like, this is pretty fun. But then my junior year in the one act contest, we went to contest and we saw a production of 𝗕𝗲𝗆𝗄𝗃 𝗪𝗹𝗹. And there was this guy who I came to meet and know named 𝗕𝗲𝗆 from another school who was playing 𝗕𝗲𝗄 at the time. And it went from something that was kind of fun to something that I aspired to be. And it was this guy who was a year older than me. And I've talked to him about this only a couple of years ago. And so that would have been like 30 years ago that this happened. But a couple of years ago, I wrote him, and he's now a filmmaker and a photographer and lives in New York and is no longer an actor, but very much still an artist. And he was very moved by that. But he's like, you never know who you're going to touch, how you're going to. And I saw this guy do this, and it was so great. And then I went to school. When I first went to college, I went to school, and he was there the first year I was there. And when I went into acting class, we had to do some monologues. And I kept my first two assignments. I did 𝗕𝗲𝗄 and 𝗕𝗲𝗄. And my acting teacher finally said, can we step away from the 𝗕𝗲𝗄? And I'm sure I was doing it horribly, like just awful, like the worst 𝗕𝗲𝗄, ever. But that's his name.
Doing things horribly at one point, right?
Right. Yeah. So that's his name. His name is 𝗕𝗲𝗆𝗄𝗃.
That's awesome.
I just thought it was about, fun and girls. And then I saw somebody really working.
Yeah.
And it changed everything. That's it. I know the moment.
That's awesome.
March of 1990.
Awesome.
That's
Good.
an awesome
That's a good
story.
story.
I think that's an unusual story, because I think most of us have a teacher or a director, someone who's quite a lot older than us who becomes that kind of mentor. But to have it be a peer, essentially, I think that's an unusual story, Drake. I really love that story.
He was kind of an old soul, if that makes sense,
Yeah, I get that.
He was an old soul. And then I went to school with him for 1 year, and he was just so professional. I remember the first year I was at school with him, we did a production of Indians by 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 Buffalo Bill. And one night he had gone off after his last exit, and while he was actually, before he went off, we were all on stage, and it's a huge cast, and the green room was right off the stage, and it's this really sort of ceremonial, cleansing, coming together, quiet moment on stage. And I didn't hear it as much because I was my first year in college, but they were being so loud in the dressing room. And so we all walked off into the dressing room, and I'm thinking, it's closing night, it's great, awesome. And he ripped into all those kids. He was like, what are you doing in here? What are we doing if we're not, you know,
Yeah.
the party will be in 30 minutes. Come on, you know.
Respecting the other people who are still on stage and letting them finish their show.
So,
Right.
so
right.
very much an old soul. Very much an old soul.
Awesome.
I've been on both sides of that equation.
Well,
You dumbass making noise backstage, and I've been the guy on stage who's really mad about it. And,
Yeah.
you know, you just forget. Sometimes you forget backstage what's
Yeah.
going on.
yeah.
All right.
But, that's that's really
That's good.
interesting. Wow, cool. Well, good. So I love that story.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble getting past that.
Oh,
So, well, so let's shift gears. So
Did I ever tell you that story
Good.
before?
You're doing real well.
We've known each other 8 gazillion years. I never
I know
told
we
you that
have,
story.
haven't we? Right.
You know, I read that like sort of like pre-interview, and I was like, what am I going to tell them that I haven't told them a million times? But I guess this is for other people, I guess.
That's
Yeah,
not really
yeah,
for
yeah.
us. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah, okay.
So one thing that I know about you that I maybe not a lot of people in Houston know is that you started out, I think, in Houston, but then you had this career in LA. And I mean, from my point of view, you had a pretty successful career in LA.
It was okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, tell us what you did in LA.
Well, I moved out there after I taught a couple years, and I thought, you know, I don't have any kids yet. It's time to like go and, you know, I mean, this is the time to be broke ass mofos, you know, when you have
Yeah.
nobody depending on you.
Right.
So I moved out there, and some people that I knew lived out there. I got involved with, I started taking class in a studio, like a lot of people do, you know. It's like going to the gym, you know, I went every Monday night, but this particular studio had a theater involved with it. And so I took classes and did some theater, and I got an agent through those people. I remember, you know, what's funny is that we did Lobby Hero together.
Oh,
And the way that I got my agent was putting a scene together from Lobby Hero.
oh,
And this was
wow.
like 2002.
Yeah.
I was much younger, so I played Jeff at the time.
Mhm.
And I did a scene between Jeff and Dawn, and I went into this agent, a pretty good agent, and I was like, this is what we do. We do a scene, and
Yeah.
so we did it, and we dressed, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
we're not playing around, you know. I didn't go in my sweats. I dressed like a security guard, and
Right.
I got an agent, and you know, nobody ever gets into the rooms as much as they want to get into. I was like, get me
Sure.
into more rooms, get me more rooms. You're really good at working the deal, but get me into more rooms. But the first room they got me in, I booked.
Yeah.
And so that was a pilot for Adam Sandler's company, you know, Happy Madison.
Mhm.
And it was a series regular, and I was like, this is great. This is great. It's happening now. I can leave my job at Trader Joe's, which I love, by the way, because they're a great place to work for. I could never keep a commercial agent and I wish I could go back and talk to young Drake and say, you know what, going into these commercial auditions, don't judge it all over the place. Don't, whatever.
Right.
If you just go in, I know people who make their living from doing commercials and don't
Yeah.
have to go work in the freezer for 6 hours a night.
And
But I
someone
wish I could go back to, well, I just think that there are people who are
different
better
thing.
with crappy material than I am.
Sure.
And at the
Me
and
too.
at the time I judged it too, you know.
Yeah.
So I could never keep a commercial agent, but my theatrical agent I did keep, and
Mhm.
so we did this pilot, and it was great. I was like, wow, this is awesome. The first day on the show, the first shot, I was so nervous. Like, because it was real money, you know. For me
Yeah.
at the time, it was like $25,000 for 3 days work,
Right.
and I was like, and so what I did, I felt that $25,000 3 days. And my butthole was I could make diamonds out of my butthole. I was so tight. And you know, if you're lucky in LA, the directors know what they want and know it works. They don't really necessarily feel like it's their job to help you get there. That's your job. And this director knew what he wanted and knew it worked, and it wasn't working. And so I had to like take a moment, and I had to. It's lucky that I was taking class, because I had to sort of direct myself and like, how get comfortable. How do I do this? How do I do this? And it was a scene in a hospital room, and I was this wacky, weird guy. And I said, and it was some guy's birthday party, and I said, can I get a bedpan with a piece of cake in the bedpan and a fork? And we've talked about eating on stage before, how grounding it is for me,
Yeah.
because you're not acting. No acting. You're
Yeah.
eating. I
Yeah.
say, I just want a bedpan with some cake in it. You have to become your own advocate, you know? And so I did, and I took that first bite, and I was like, let's go.
Yeah, he does like to eat. I can attest to that. I like to cast you in shows where you get to eat. I'm
It's
all
so
for it.
it's so grounding. It's so
Well, it's
yeah.
about activity too. It's like if you're
Yeah.
eating, or you have like if you're packing a suitcase, I mean, anything that's a really good, consistent activity, and that's, you know,
Pack the suitcase. Don't act like you're packing the suitcase. Pack the suitcase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clean the house, whatever it is, right?
You know, Drake, I think, you know, just so our audience knows, like the percentage of actors who go to LA to try to be in TV or movies and book a pilot is very low.
Yeah,
And, you know,
especially right out of the gates.
you did that. And I
That's a
think
big
it's-
deal.
yeah,
Well, I said it was my first audition. I didn't say it was right out of the gate.
Oh, well,
it was like
you had
2.5
been there
years,
to see it.
2.5 years before I
Yeah.
get a real audition, you know.
No, but that's great. But you said first audition with your new agent. I mean, that's a really wonderful thing too to do with a new agent. So that's a really, but you've been working very hard. You've been in class, you've been in theater. So it's not like you're green. It's not like you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't understand
Yeah.
people who go to either New York or LA and think, if it doesn't happen in a year, I'm leaving.
Yes.
Well, then you should just
Right.
go home now.
You should just forget it.
Just
Right.
forget
Or they
it.
don't do any training. They take a class for a month and they go, okay, so how do I get a job now? I'm like, well, I really couldn't tell you that.
Right.
You know,
And you know,
you
the weird
put
thing
me in
is that
class, I can't help you.
the weird thing is that there's like this thing about, like, you know, LA actors are just pretty and whatever, and not. I met some of the best actors I've ever met in my life in LA.
Yeah.
Did they happen to be gorgeous and awesome? Yes, they did, but they were just as I felt with that theater company. What I missed about when I was doing theater in Houston is I didn't have a community. And then
Mhm.
I joined this theater and I had community.
Yeah.
And they introduced me to agents. We worked on the work. We did the work.
I had the
And
same thing in LA. I had
Yeah.
a theater that I was a part of called Blue Sphere Alliance, and I was a member and I was a part of it. And I still have friends to this day from that theater that are in New York and all over the country. I agree. Being in a community like that in LA is really helpful and wonderful artists. And it made me, I got auditions, I got things that I would have never got. They really were a connective community, and that helped me a lot in a
Yeah.
place that can feel very lonely and very like you don't know how to do anything there.
right,
You're
exactly.
grounding. Yeah.
I mean, and you know, since then, I wish I could still go back and talk to that guy and go, but listen, really need to not stop judging these commercial auditions.
I know. Well, and me too, feeling like I had a lot of trouble too with the idea that I still couldn't figure out what was true and what wasn't true. When people would tell me I was great, I didn't know if I believed them because I thought I should have more. I was like,
Right.
well, I don't know what that means. And what do I want them to tell me I suck? No.
You don't want sycophants. Yeah, you know,
Yes.
you want honest, you know, sort of people. And the teacher that I had was really great.
Me too.
And I actually remember one time going, man, he just thinks he knows everything, and he did. And so I have a friend who is a German actor, and he
Yeah.
goes back to Germany and does like German. He was in a German soap opera, and like he does German TV movies. And there was one time he was in my studio, and he wanted to work on a scene that he was going to take back to Germany. He was playing a lead villain for the first time. He's like, will you work on this with me? Because for whatever reason, I was learning German at the time.
Oh.
And I was like, I've never acted in another language. Let's do that, you know? And I was like, well, let's see what this guy has to say about my acting. He doesn't even understand what's going on. And so we worked really hard and we did the scene. And then we sat down in our chairs and he goes, how did this go? How did this go? And then he started talking about what he thought. And I was like, nice, that son of a bitch is right.
I know, right? That's how you speak.
I swear to God. How does he know this? He's right.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just like to be in rooms where I'm not the smartest person.
I totally agree. That's so funny. I know that one of the notes I got as a director early in my career was, and you know, it doesn't mean you don't try to be the organizer and the leader in the room, but be the dumbest person in the room, because
Sure.
then you're going to see something brilliant. You're not going to miss it because you're too busy trying to make everybody do what you want.
Right.
You're going to see when something is better than what you thought of. And you're
Well,
going to go,
anytime that we work, actor, director, I'm there to, you know, if you're not willing to learn, then I
Yeah.
don't know where you go from there.
right. And both people have to learn from each other, and all people have to learn from each other. I have to learn from the designers. I have to learn from the actors. I have to learn from everybody in the room. And you know, of course, there's times where you have to go. We've had a great time learning from each other, but you know what? You got to just do it this way. At some point.
Sure.
At some point. But I hope through the whole process, you go, no, this is playtime. Do what you want to do, and then this is like, okay, you know. But I like to be able to go, okay, be dumb right now.
Yeah.
Pretend you don't know anything about the play. Pretend you don't know anything about him, and watch what he does and see what's wonderful and exciting and new that you didn't think about.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So I'm not sure I have my timeline right, but I think, Drake, that I saw you in a show at Stages at the 𝗕𝗏𝗶𝗀𝗶 project. Is that before you went to LA?
It is. It is.
So yeah, and then you were gone for a while, and then I remember hearing about this theater company, and I was like, it was all this, like it was like a manifesto, and I went to this show.
Kevin had a manifesto.
Yeah, and we went together, and
Yeah.
and it was this play called Red Light Winter, and I was like, and there was no place to sit. So I was like, I'm not going to make it through this show.
Kevin Holden.
Then I watched you and Troy Schultz
And
and
Amy.
Amy Meyer, who was named Amy Byrne then. Just
It's wonderful.
kill in the best way
Yeah.
that play. And I was like, who are these people? But who's that guy?
Yeah.
Is that same guy I saw on that show at Stages? And that's how I remember I met you at the box office afterwards.
I think we were all hanging out after, because you guys always hung out after and had beers and hung out and.
After 𝗕𝗏𝗶𝗀𝗶𝗀 or no,
Oh, no,
after
after,
Red Light Winter.
You were
Yeah.
counting money. I remember you were counting money. I think it might even been closing night. And I said, how'd it do? And you were like, we actually made our money back.
Because we sold beer.
Oh yeah.
I'm not kidding.
There it is.
I'm
Yeah,
not kidding.
the key to theater, sell the beer, you'll do all
Kevin,
right.
you know Kevin's whole manifesto, like it's got to be like a sporting stadium, and if we're not interesting enough to keep them from going to buy a beer, then that's our problem.
Yeah, you're talking about Kevin Holden, who,
Yes.
Yes, Kevin Holden.
Horsehead Theater Company, which you guys founded
Yes.
together
Right,
with
right.
some other people.
Which I
And-
think Catherine has a picture of the two of you, maybe. Catherine, do you have a fault lines picture, maybe?
That's
Oh,
our
no, that's
inception
something
party.
else.
That's our inception party. Yeah.
Is that Red Light Winter or is that?
No, he just said it. It's
Oh.
the party they gave.
We did like a fundraising party before we did any shows.
Oh,
you know?
okay. There's
like-
fault lines. That's
There's fault lines.
yeah, which was done at the bar that was above where you did Among the Thugs. So that was a double whammy there in that location,
The
basically.
brewery
And-
tap.
Two great shows.
And Philip had such a great dressing room for that show.
Did you have a bad dressing room?
Well, it was just, it
was
was a
just-
bar. It was like in the
Yeah.
back room of the bar, and it
Right.
smelled like beer and cigarettes.
But that was awesome.
And then we went outside to get outside, and there was like a sewer grate, right, where we set our chairs outside. Remember that? Yeah,
It was
like
better there.
yeah, it was actually better there. Yeah,
But that was
Oh.
a great experience for
Yeah.
me. I think it was for you too. We produced this play that was set in a bar, and we fought with the locals to see who was going to gain control of the bar while we were talking, and came to some sort of uneasy peace with those people.
yeah. But Tech Night was tough. Tech Night was tough.
They didn't want to
I
let
didn't
us
like
have
that, huh?
any silence. No. They were-
and then they bought in, and then they were kind of like our heroes,
Yeah.
you know. But
Yeah, they were like, they'd come to us afterwards, say, "Hey, man, I noticed you did that part a little differently tonight. I think it was better before."
yeah,
It's
I'll
just
keep
stuff
that
like
in mind. I'll keep that in mind.
Oh, yeah, right. Thanks so much. Yeah. Maybe then you didn't need to be the dumbest person in the room. at that
Well, yeah,
point, Jake.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember like
Moments where you pick that perspective.
I remember doing that, and I remember going up because I was on stage the whole time, and there was only one bathroom, and it's where the patrons went as well. So we were drinking not real beer, but we were drinking carbonated beverages during the show, and I would have to go immediately to the restroom at the end. And I remember being in a stall one night, going to the restroom, and the guy coming up and going, "That was really great," and I was going, "I really appreciate that, but can we have this conversation when I'm
Done going to the bathroom. Yeah.
when my junk is not in my hand? Can we talk about this? Just like give me 10 minutes."
Oh, it's great. Well, you've done a lot of stuff. We're gonna jump over to us too, because we love Horsehead and we followed you guys. I mean, and we have like a history of things that we've done together, and even sometimes where we complimented each other through Horsehead and Stark Naked.
Right.
Catherine has a list of our shows that you've done. I think one was left out of her pictures, as I remember, but she'll put that up.
Dinner
let me
with
see.
friends,
Yeah, I think we left out Body Awareness, which
body
is
awareness.
Nice favorite, right? On some level.
It's definitely my favorite thing that I've ever seen you do.
Oh, well, I was
You
one
were
of my
so
favorite.
moving in that. I mean, it was just,
Oh.
I remember the scene where we would where the photo shoot in particular that I remember.
Yeah.
And you were just so vulnerable and so in the moment. And so it was so fun to work with you because you were just so telling the truth that it listening to you, and it made me live the truth of my character in the sense that I knew he wanted to give you what you needed in that sort of
Well,
really vulnerable moment. It's still my favorite thing I've ever seen you. It was just
oh.
so, it was just really, you were just telling the truth. And it
Well,
was great.
and I think personally to me, and part of why we like to have you so often in our productions, and well, we love you, you're our friend, but you feel that aesthetic for me too. I love to work with you and I love to direct you and act with you because I feel like that's an easy exchange. I felt like I had that exchange with you a lot too in Realistic Joneses. I felt like that felt very easy for me too. We have a similar, I think, approach to acting and to interacting with the other person. That we want that to let all that work we do that goes into planning it before you come. You have to release all that, and then you have to be there and hope that your instinct in that work you did shows up. You did it. It's there. Trust it. Now just be there and
Sure.
talk to that person, right? And
I agree.
I
with
find that
You
very
guys-
easy with you.
You guys just won't lie. You
We try.
won't lie on stage, and it's really inspiring
No.
when you guys are around, both of you.
Yeah.
That's why I love you both as artists.
Well, I think we have a lot of fun working together. Sometimes we struggle with the communication, but I think we both have the same goals. So I think we like to talk to each other and listen to what we're trying to get to. I love working with you. I love having you in the room and watching what you do and knowing. I mean, I know I trust you 100%. I know you're going to get there. You're going to do something real and truthful and poignant about this story. You're going to tell this story and you're going to find that way, and then you're going to release it and be there. And that's what I'm trying to get somebody to do when I'm coaching and directing. I'm like, hey, we're going to find this path that tells the story the best, but then ultimately you have to just let it go. And hopefully people start to understand that on some level when they work at our theater a lot. So that's what's fun, I think.
The one thing I remember about body awareness is it's one of the few times ever professionally that I've done this thing. I'll do it next time. I'll do it next time. And I think Philip remembers what I'm talking about. You remember how to do the cantor thing where I had to do the Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. And I'll never forget it now. But I felt such a responsibility to get that right.
Yeah.
That and I've never been this way. I was like, next time, Philip, next time. And then eventually Philip was like, it's next time.
Oh, yeah.
But I had listened to 4 million people sing that prayer. And I was, I thought it was like learning a song, but every cantor sings it differently. And so I was like, I was finding, what I was trying to do? I was trying to figure out the right way to do it.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
And when it's something like that, when it's not a song, there's no right, mean it, I guess, tell the truth. And, but I was really frustrated by that because I was like, can 2 people sing this the same way?
Just to give me an answer.
Well, I just didn't want to be the schmuck that was out there doing it wrong. And somebody shows up and goes, what is this clown doing?
I know, I understand. You did a great job with that.
That was that's a very early directing experience for me. Probably the 3rd or 4th show I ever directed in my life. And I remember I was just learning the best lesson because the scene you're talking about was this long dinner scene, right? It
was a Seder, wasn't it a Seder? Or was it
and the way it's written, there's nothing that explicitly says somebody gets up from the table, and moves around. And I remember thinking, oh, it's going to be so boring if everybody just sits at the table and talks. But then we staged it, and I was like, I think maybe it just should be everybody sitting at the table and talking like people do. Yeah. And then a friend came in to watch, someone I trusted very much, and I asked him to come in. One of those specific things I wanted him to watch, I didn't tell him this, but was that. And he said afterwards, your choice to let everybody just sit at that table and talk is really good. Oh, thank God. As a young director, you're always like, I gotta make things move. I gotta make things interesting, and it's like, no. Well,
there it is. There's our table.
There it is, yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such good material. And I know exactly what you feel. I've done that as director too. Is this interesting? Is this, you picked the show for a reason. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I had a help from, I remember Clint Allen lit that
Yeah,
show,
yeah.
and he helped with his lighting
Oh, it's really beautiful.
a lot.
Yeah.
The
Well,
fog
and I think the
the
four
fog
of us,
machines were cool too.
yeah, but and I think the four of us were a really good combination. Maddie
Mhm.
and Pam and I and you, for whatever reason, we had a really good, and sometimes that happens, a really perfect group of people come together and it's easy. There's just no work ever hardly. It
Yeah.
just feels like it falls together really
I wasn't
nicely.
able to fuck it up.
You were able. You didn't.
You
But
just did
you
it.
were able. Come
You
on.
could've.
You could have.
It wasn't me. I remember because right after that, or soon after that, Horsehead did another Annie Baker play
Yeah.
that both you and Maddie Lintz were involved with called
He wasn't originally, he wasn't originally involved in that.
Oh, that's
Right.
Well, but I mean, we asked him originally.
Yeah.
And he was like, I can't do it. And he was our first choice. I can't do it, whatever. And then we went another way and it just didn't work out for whatever reason. And then when we reached back out to Maddie, he was like, I am available now. And I was like,
Yeah.
great. So
And so that was a play that you guys produced. It takes place outside of a convenience store, and you guys chose to do it outside of a bar.
it was like outside, it's in the back of a coffee house in Vermont, is where it was set. And so we built that, back of 𝗕𝗲𝗶𝗀𝗶𝗀.
Oh,
We built that back of a coffee house, and it was all great and it was beautiful. And then it
Yeah.
got a little weird.
Well,
You had to
because
move it or
you had to
something.
move it, didn't you?
Yeah.
We had to move it to the hot dog place.
The hot dog place on White Oak.
Yes.
That's where I saw the play.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw both.
Yeah, we had to move it. And it was really weird because when it had to happen, I mean, the theater community came out of the woodwork because we had
They
a
did.
deal. We had a deal. We were not loud. We were not, and
Yeah.
they just broke the deal. They broke the deal. And so the theater community came out of the woodwork saying, what can we do? You guys did. Jason, Catastrophic, all those people came out. We're like,
Yeah.
what can we do? How can we help? Because they knew what had happened. And it's a really great thing about this community. I
Yeah.
think people want people to do well,
Me too. I think we all like, even if we don't talk for a long time, it's like if somebody calls somebody and then says, I have this problem, we're like, oh, well, okay. What can we do? I mean, I think that people are like that even when they're busy and they don't see each other for a while.
Sure.
I do like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's true, and I think it's changed drastically in the last several years with some changes of leadership at the bigger theaters. That there's so much more interest now from those flagship theaters in what we're all doing. It's really.
Well, I mean, I think that's evident just from the Realistic Joneses, the brass that came down from some of those theaters you're talking
Yeah.
about. I think before we'd been told, we want to come see things, and I wasn't told that from the new people, and then there they were,
Yeah.
talking to us after the show, and I just think that's,
Yeah.
I think to be interesting, you have to be interested.
I agree.
And so I feel you, Philip, what you're saying. I
Yeah.
really do.
And I also feel like that's a part of, like, we go to a lot of stuff. I know that you go when you can, when you're not teaching or not a lot, or when you don't have the kids as much as you do sometimes. And to me, if you don't go see other stuff, how can you get better?
Right.
You can't
Right.
get better just watching your own stuff all the time. So if you're not watching other people's stuff, you're not stealing stuff. That's good.
Or even on the opposite end, there's stuff to
Learning what
learn,
doesn't work.
and so
Yeah.
I'm
I
going
learned a lot about bad staging, watching stuff. And that's not to say people do bad things. I don't mean that, but sometimes it's like, oh, look,
People make
that doesn't,
mistakes.
I make mistakes. Like, ooh, that didn't move right. And I got taken out of the play. I want to remember why you get taken out of a play. That
Right.
happens to me a lot. I go, what takes me out of a play? Because I want to think about that and try to avoid that.
Yeah, you can have a teaching moment like that without it be a judgy moment of the person who
Right.
staged it.
Yeah.
You just, oh, that didn't work.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
Well, so Drake, we seem to be, as performers and producers, whatever, coming out of COVID now. And I'm curious what, we were talking a little bit before we came on about things you were going to do at your school where you teach. People should know that about you. You're a high school teacher at, tell us where.
at Alvin High School.
Yeah, I knew it was an Alvin. Yeah, it's
You've been there a while now, yeah?
And so,
Like
yeah.
10 years, 11 years, something like that, you know?
So
Wow.
what are you excited about? Like next year? I know there's some things that are going to happen. And
I'm just excited to, I'm just excited to do shows, you know.
Yes.
I'm just, this was the most, every teacher in the world was frustrated by this year. Every teacher in the world
Yeah.
was frustrated. But on top of that, I was bored.
Yeah.
I was bored and frustrated, like, no, and this may not be true, and it's probably not true for other teachers, but for me, I didn't sign up to, teach kids how to draw ground plans. I was like, let's make some scenery, let's do some lights. I didn't, sign up to just always do scene work. I'm like, let's do a show.
Yeah.
My favorite part of the job is the after school part of the job.
Mhm.
And so this year everybody, not just us, but
Yeah.
most everybody were robbed of their favorite part of the job.
Yeah.
And we did one show this year.
Yeah.
And I didn't direct that show. I just like sort of built it and lit it, and but man, when we usually do 5 shows, one is just,
Yeah. Hard.
so more than anything, at our thespian induction and sort of end of the year banquet, I was able to announce at the end, we're coming back like crazy, and we're doing 5 shows next year. And all the parents, everybody just erupted into applause.
That's
It was like,
awesome.
so let me see if I can lob you the biggest softball ever in your
Okay.
professional career.
Uh-huh.
What are you most looking forward to next season?
But I don't know. I'm looking forward to getting back on stage
Yeah, where?
Where?
at Fourth Wall Theater.
Yay!
Oh.
Which we can't tell you what, everybody.
Listen,
We're
I
gonna
have
do
wanted to play Sydney the Machine Levine for so long.
Man.
We're doing Cyrano, and I get to play Cyrano finally.
What, Cyrano? Well, don't tell them that; they might believe it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm most excited about, and it falls, with my schedule, it falls perfectly. The
I'm
show will
so glad.
close right before I start my real work on the show that I'm directing.
Yeah.
That's
great.
Did
Well,
you see the
We will tell
production
you all, guys, what he's going to be in 2 weeks. So
June
come back
3rd.
June 3rd. Come
We're
back and
gonna
hear what he's
announce.
going to be in, but we're not going to tell you today. 2 more weeks.
You mentioned a character in a play called Glengarry Glen Ross. Easy for me to say.
Right.
Do you by any chance see the production that James Black directed at the Alley?
I did not. I think that was when I was in LA.
Man, I was understudying in it for some reason, but so I wasn't really involved in it. It was great.
That's what I heard.
It
I missed that.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, what a play! And
Yeah.
James Black is going to be directing for us.
Yes, but we're not going to tell you what yet. Keep your mouth shut.
He's directing
Come back in
a
2 weeks.
play, not Glengarry Glen Ross, but a
Yep,
play
a
for us
play.
next season, which is really great. Which is
Is
really
he directing the play that I'm in? I don't think so.
That's me.
Kim is
Oh, that's Kim. That's Kim.
Yeah,
That's it,
yeah.
that's it.
Sorry. Yeah, you'll know why when we announce it.
Okay. Is it
Yeah.
Cyrano? Are you doing Cyrano and it's him? And
Yeah.
you kind of destroyed my dream.
And we just will not let you do Cyrano. You're not playing Cyrano.
Okay. That's fair. I'm over it anyway.
Okay, good.
So I want to talk just briefly, and this it does pertain to you, but hold on, because it's coming. So we're doing a summer program at Fourth Wall for the first time this year. It was supposed to happen last summer. It's called Summer Shakes, and it's basically we're bringing two students from Juilliard, my alma mater, down to do a production of As You Like It with 12 Houston high school students. And this is where Drake comes in. Your student who you sent to the auditions, Angel, is going to be part of that.
She's so good. She's so good. She's a junior this year.
Okay.
And I didn't know her very much her freshman year because the lady that I teach with taught her that year. But I saw her do a little bit of scene work at the end of her freshman year, and she has an understanding of stillness that is very uncommon in people her age,
Sure.
and clarity. She's got stuff to learn, but just trusting stillness and clarity. And so last year I was directing a production of Our Town, and my initial thought was, because I'd never acted with my students, I said, I want to play the stage manager and I have all my kids be in the show with me. But then we opened the new Performing Arts Center last year, and the date of that opening kept getting pushed later and later and later.
Oh.
So my producer director hats were going to have to be on longer and longer and longer.
Oh.
So I thought, okay, I'm not going to act in this. Who do I use for this? And I first thought of a senior. I was like, well, let me ask a senior. And I asked this particular senior, and that senior was very happy with the role they were playing. And I said, okay, I just wanted to ask you first. And then I thought about it, and I thought about this girl, Angel, and I thought, this girl would kill this. She would be so great in this role. And then, of course, she was.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of storytelling that has to happen in that part,
Yeah.
setting the scene. And what you have to do as the actor is that you have to see it
Yeah.
to tell it. You know, you have to actually see it all.
Sure.
And this girl could see it. And I was just like, holy moly, that is great. And then so right before COVID shut us down, I was directing one act, and we were going to do Marvin's Room, and she was playing the I forgot her name, but the Meryl Streep part, the one with the kids, you know,
The hairdresser. Yeah.
the hairdresser.
Yeah.
And she was so good.
Yeah.
And then when you sent us this stuff, you know, because I don't often have a lot of kids who want to go study theater, or, you know, it's just, you know, the socioeconomic community that I live in. I think for some of them, going to study theater seems like a big dream that is, I should just go get my nursing degree. And, you know, unlike some kids who maybe live in Memorial and are like, hey, let me go, I have support to go follow my dreams, you know? And I know that she wants to go study theater. And so when you sent me that thing, I thought, do I have anybody? Because when you sent it to me last year, I was like, I don't have anybody. And then you sent it to me this year, and I thought, I think she should go. I think she should go read.
Well, you know, this is one of the things that I hope will happen with the program. And I mean, it's already happened in a way, because I've got these two people who are entering their fourth year at Juilliard. And I went to Juilliard, so I've got a perspective from, you know, having done theater for 25 years. They've got these Juilliard kids, and then these high school people. And so everybody can get a perspective of what, you know, being a professional actor and studying to be a professional actor is.
Yeah.
So
And even
And
the
I'll tell you,
process.
I'll tell you immediately that this girl, she wants to go study theater. And I think originally she was thinking about things like Texas State and places like that, which that's great. Awesome. Right.
Sure.
But I told her, and this is before she became a part of the company. I said, Angel, why don't we start at Juilliard and Carnegie and these places? And then there's no shame in, you know,
And
working
doing
out.
Texas State. Right.
It's a great program. I know a lot of great people who came out of this. But
Mhm.
if, you know, why don't we reach for the stars?
good.
You
Yeah.
know, and I think because since we talked about colleges last week, and now she's talking about, there's a college in Cambridge, England that I'm thinking about, and there's a college here and I'm like, this is perfect. This is perfect. You know,
That's
Yeah.
great.
Texas State is still on her list. You know,
Yeah.
she's
cool.
talked about some schools in Texas,
Sure.
and I'm like, I think UT's a great program for you, especially for an undergrad. There's not
Mhm.
graduate competition for you, you know. But I just
Well,
think
why not
it's
go to all those auditions? And then once she's gotten an opportunity to talk to the Juilliard students about what they did to go through their, because they'll have auditioned for everything, and then got into Juilliard, and they can say, well, I went to this, and this is how it went.
and they'll just be able to talk to her about that process.
Yeah.
And so it'll seem less scary.
Yep, exactly.
You know, it'll seem less scary.
When
and
they
I
are
think,
just like her, she'll be like, oh, you're just like me.
yes.
You know,
And-
yeah.
And she'll just focus on the work to get in rather than the big scary Juilliard.
Yeah.
And I think, and I thank you
Yeah.
for doing this program.
I think
Thank
it's
you for
great.
offering this opportunity to kids to remove some of that fear of like, how could I go to NYU? How could I go to Juilliard? You know, kids see people, you know, and
It does seem, you know, I remember I grew up in Des Moines, Iowa, and there was no professional theater there. I didn't know any real professional actors, or a few who came to the university where I went. I went to undergrad there, you know, and so
Drake University, if
yeah,
I'm
Drake
not
University.
mistaken. Great university.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, my dad taught there, and so there were advantages for me to go there. But you know, being a professional actor seemed like a total overreach to me. And then to be able to actually, you know, get into a school like Juilliard changed a lot in my own mind about who I was and who I might be able to be. And
Yeah,
so I think that's part of what this program can do.
And I don't mean to like like, it's not devaluing the greatness of getting to the Juilliard, but demystifying the steps that you must take to get there.
I totally agree.
Is what it's about for me.
Because I didn't believe that I should even audition. When I was a Texas girl, you know, young, out of high school, having a little bit of college, I was like, oh, they'd never look at me. I don't come from whatever I'm supposed to come from, whatever the pedigree is that has to go to those schools. And I didn't understand. It's not a pedigree. You're an actor. And if you audition and you're a good actor, it doesn't matter where you come from, you'll get in. They're going to pick this school, you know, this class of this many people. I didn't understand that. And someone had told me, it's no different than if you do a good SAT score and you write a paper and you send it off to USC and, you know, Chicago and wherever else, and you want to do science and they accept you because you have good grades and you wrote a good paper.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand that. I thought somehow I had to be, I
didn't-
already had to be Meryl Streep.
I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah.
No kidding. This was before internet, and you know, and I went to some small
Yeah,
town,
me too.
and in my theater class, we like put zip code labels on our show postcards and sent them out. Didn't
Yeah, me
even
too.
know. So as far as teaching, I want to be the teacher that I wish I had.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not always that teacher. I'm not.
Well,
But I have a goal. And it's good to have goals.
right.
I always
Wow.
have a goal when I do a show of remembering all my lines and saying them in the right order, and that hardly ever happens.
Well, it's important to have goals.
Yeah.
That's right. He gets better at it all the time.
Yeah.
No, I'm getting worse.
I know, that's true. Me too. I have to start way earlier than I used to learn my lines.
You get the best parts though. The guy in True West, Saul,
Yep.
that's the best. I mean, we would go off stage, he's watching football. Like my
Right.
paycheck, and he'd be like, my paycheck's the same as yours. I get to watch football. I was so jealous. And then when you guys cast me in Lobby Hero, I was like, this is great. This is
Right.
fantastic.
There you go. Then
Yeah,
you got to play Saul, and
yeah,
the Saul
yeah.
of Lobby Hero.
Well,
Right.
yeah, Bill's a more interesting role than Saul. Saul is a kind of a
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not out
Yeah.
there the whole time. You know, you get to come. You get to come on and be fascinating, and then go
Yeah.
off and watch football.
Right.
But I was envious of you guys in that show because you were so
That
wonderful
show was
together,
great.
and, we're talking about Nick Farco now and Drake. And
Yeah.
True
In
West.
True West.
And
You
oh,
two
there
were
you are.
perfect.
There you
Yeah.
are.
You really, really did a
See,
great job.
I didn't make the picture or the poster.
And you know, that was really, really important to me because I am a big Sam Shepard fan and I have
know.
always
Yeah.
been. And so doing that project was a really big deal to me, and how wonderful you both were just meant the world to me.
All four of us were.
Yeah,
actually.
you were fine.
We should mention
He's
Sally
sitting.
was
He can hear
wonderful.
you. He can
And
hear you.
Sally was
excellent
terrific.
as well as
Sally
the
was
mom.
a
Sally was-
wonderful. We were
Woo.
so lucky we found Sally. She was
You know-
fantastic. He did his job beautifully and then watched football.
Poor
The
Yeah.
suit is what made him.
Sally, you know, that role of the mom in True West, she comes on at the last
Very end.
5 minutes of the play, and so she's back there and she's, you know, getting nervous, and we're all like, I'm watching football, you guys are on stage, and that, you know, so that was tough. And then the next show I did was at 80 Players, a production of You Can't Take It With You, and Sally played this role where she came on in the third act of a 3-act play.
Yeah,
The same thing.
yeah.
Poor
She's the closer.
dear.
Sally's the closer, man.
Yeah.
Sally is for closing.
There it is.
But I knew that I remember her, I remember her posting some stuff on Facebook before we even got started. She would post pictures of her reading Sam Shepard scripts, like, you know,
know.
on Facebook. Like, she was so excited to do Sam
She
Shepard.
was.
And I was like, maybe I should read the script.
I
I mean, that's a joke.
know. she worked so hard. She was so wonderful, and she was so lovely to work with. I know
So
she's done a
great.
lot of beautiful work in
So
town.
great. So
She's
gracious, such a giving performer. Such
She
a
is. She's a
that's-
lovely lady.
she was
Yeah.
great. I'm so
Yeah,
glad that I met her on that show, and I want to thank you for that because she's such good people.
Oh, she is. I'm glad we all got to meet her. I've met her before it, but I hadn't gotten to work with her.
Did you work with her again since then, or?
I
just-
haven't. No.
Yeah.
She's done some good stuff around town. But you also did our first show as Stark Naked Theater, Dinner with Friends. It was
Yeah.
our very first show.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was also another one that was great. You were talking about how, yep, oh, there we are. In Love, there it is.
That's actually not true. Debt Collectors was our first show.
Oh, it was our first show. Well, first show in Studio 101.
That's
Just stop the lies, Kim. Stop the lies.
I just lie, I just do it. It's my job. I'm committed to
Your
being
job?
about being so
I thought your job was tell the truth.
I know, right? You just talked about me being so truthful. I'm like, well, did you know? Could you tell the difference?
Right.
Man, I loved that show.
Dinner with
That-
Friends was another great one
we
too.
did that. The three of us and
Yeah.
Shelley
Really? Yeah.
And
being
Shelley,
Black.
yeah.
Man.
that was you were interesting. You were talking about how you didn't want to do the Hebrew prayer until you knew it. And this was one where I came out in the first rehearsal and I said, okay, guys, I'm going to fake cry every night in this first scene, just so that if
I
there's
remember that.
I can't actually cry, I'm not afraid to just fake cry, because she has to have a big breakdown, right? It's like the whole reason the scene falls apart. And I was like, and that's another thing for actors. It's like, if you have to have a big breakdown, if it's like the scene is contingent upon it, you can't just not have it because you don't have it.
Well, it's
So-
very much, I think we all felt about you saying that, probably the way that Philip felt about me going, not this time, not this time. Like I would make a big deal like, not this time. You're like, okay, fine.
I know.
And you come back and go, I'm not crying tonight. We were like, okay.
I know.
whatever.
It's like, I was like, it was really weird, but it was so much stress. I was like, I have to break down on a line.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was like on a line. I was like, shit. So I had to I have to practice the fake crying for those couple nights when I'm gonna have to fake cry, okay? And I don't like it, but it'll probably happen. Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, technique has got to be there for when
That's right.
feels aren't.
That's exactly right. When it doesn't hit you at that moment. And usually what happens is, and I would always say to my students, I go, if you fake at that moment that you have to break, you're going to be crying in 3 lines because your body doesn't know the difference between real and imaginary. So if you've trained your body to have a response, 99% of the time, even if you start with the fake facial and the fake, you're going to be crying in 3 or 4 lines.
Or the other the option is that like 2 lines after you're like, that was so much bullshit. I'm so horrible.
Just stop. You go, oh, well,
And then you
he's really not worth crying about. I don't know what I think.
I was so horrible right then. My God.
Whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not going to cry.
Yeah, we do these things to ourselves. I was reminded, we did this White Rabbit, Red Rabbit production recently, and all of the actors were classmates of mine from Juilliard. And this one guy, 𝗘𝗽𝗶𝘀𝗶𝗀𝗍, who he and I were, really good friends. We roomed together whenever we had blah, blah, blah. So we were doing a play 3rd or 4th year, and we were rehearsing, and I came into the dressing room and I had my script, and like I threw the script against the wall and punched the wall or something. And he was in there, maybe a couple other guys, or maybe it was just him, I don't remember, but he said to me, hey, you do that every time, right? And I looked at him, was like, and I was mad. And then, but in my mind, I was going, he's right. I do this to myself, at the same point in rehearsal every time. I throw a fit because I'm angry with that I'm bad. And I still do it, but I know that I'm doing it because I'm starting to get vulnerable. And it happens kind of every time in the experience. And because of 𝗘𝗽𝗶𝘀𝗶𝗀𝗍, I know that I don't have to throw something against the wall. I just go, oh, I'm angry with myself now. That's part of the process. And so anyway, I learned that from him, and it still happens. But when we were meeting, before White Rabbit, Red Rabbit, we had a little Zoom meeting to kind of, prepare or whatever. And I would go on and say hi. And I told him this story, and I could see it in his face. He was like, he didn't remember it. And when I finished the story, he goes, yeah, that sounds like me.
Oh.
I I mean,
Maybe.
there's a point, I think, in everybody's process, and it usually comes after you, like right after, like, man, this is going. I got this. I got this. I got this. And then there's that week after where you're like, what the hell is happening?
The wheels fall off.
I don't know what's, it's after that initial sort of breakthrough of a few things that you're then like, I don't know what's happening anymore, and I'm horrible. I had a friend at OU, Jeff 𝗕𝗲𝗀𝗶𝗀𝗶, he was playing Macbeth, and I remember him going off stage. Well, actually, he was the year before I got there, but the story's very famous. He went off stage and punched the wall, and had to be taken to the hospital. So now rehearsal is closed down because he's playing the Scotsman for 3 days, and then everyone was mad at him for being so self-indulgent and whatever. But those feelings still happen. We just learn, I think, how to process them and deal with them in a more productive way.
Yeah,
Yes.
and recognize that it's part of the process, and it's
Yes.
okay. It's okay to be,
like failure is not a potential negative outcome. It's a necessary step in the journey.
Exactly.
I think,
I totally agree with you. If you don't find yourself somewhere where you don't know what the hell you're doing and you think you're going to be awful and you want to quit, you're probably not doing it right.
Well, I think if you just always do something that you always know how to do, that's just got to be a pretty boring.
Well, right. And that's we're kind of saying the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like somewhere along the line, if you don't get scared, if you don't think you can't do it, if you don't get lost, that's actually, you're about to have a lot of fun.
If there's not something in every project that you do, that I do, whether it's directing, designing, acting, if there's not something in it that scares the shit out of me, I'm going to say I don't want to do it.
That's how I feel. I'm like, I don't know how to do this part. I'm like, maybe someone else will show you. That'd be the dumbest person in the room too. It's like, ooh, well, maybe Drake will figure this section out because
Nope, that's not likely.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how much stuff you've shown me that I didn't know. I just don't ever let you know that I didn't figure it out.
Okay, that's fair.
Right.
I want to know if there is a play or two or three that you feel that you must either act in or direct before you die,
There's well, I mean, that list sort of shifts and whatever.
Sure.
But one of the things that I have not been afforded the opportunity as of yet is to direct professionally.
Oh.
Were you directed The Horse Head?
Nope. Oh, yes, I did. I did one.
Yeah, you did that show that we traveled around.
Yeah. Just because nobody else wanted to do it. And actually, the show was my idea. So. You're now frozen laughing.
Sorry, everybody. We got kicked off.
It was a cute freeze. So just so you know,
Yeah. But you were saying,
we were talking about the fact that you had directed a play.
What do you want to direct,
professionally? Right? But so, what do you want to direct professionally?
I want to direct a play called Hidden in This Picture by Aaron Sorkin. It's a
oh,
really small Aaron Sorkin play. It's only an hour. It's a really cheap play. There's no scenery. There's no whatever. But I've known about it for 20-something years. I once auditioned for a show at the Alley for The Few Good Men with a monologue from it. And I remember the director was like, nobody ever does this. What is this play? He's like, I love this play. Nobody ever does this play. Nobody ever wants to do this play. And I remember thinking, well, you could choose to do this play.
I mean,
you run the Alley Theater.
Yeah.
You run, but I want to direct that play. But
is there anything you want to act? Can you think of something you want to do, a role you want to play?
Like sort of like dream role kind of thing?
Yeah.
No. That's a really boring answer.
Okay. Well, I'll keep finding them for you.
I'll tell you what, I mean, if you'd asked me like, in 1990, I'd be like, I want to play Cyrano. Because I think it's weird for me. I don't know why. Like, I don't have dream roles because if I get a dream role, then I age out of it. And I'm like, well, I'll never live my dream now.
Oh, yeah. I hear that. There's roles I get to play that.
So I don't really have dream roles. It's the next one.
Yeah, you're probably smart to think that. And we've been
The
real
next
lucky
one.
we run a theater. My dream role was Martha, and I
Right.
got to make that happen. So, and honestly, as much as that was a great production and we did a great job, there's been other roles I think I was better in.
Right.
But I wanted to play it my whole life. So there you go.
But like when you guys call me and ask me to do something,
Mhm.
I have said yes to you twice without reading the play. Do you know that? Is that true?
Wow.
What plays were that?
The Realistic Joneses and the Lifespan of a Fact. Oh, I mean the cornhole.
Yeah, no, that's great. Oh, you're gonna when you read it. Did you already read Lifespan?
You just let the cat out of the bag.
I just no.
Oh, we did. Didn't we?
You didn't even know.
I didn't even know.
The cat was clawing at your face, and you didn't even know.
The other one
Well,
was breaking the Prairie Wolf Code.
It's okay. It's okay. So everybody has a little. If you watch this show all the way to the end, you probably know what's coming next 2 weeks from now.
Cyrano.
Cyrano de Bergerac.
You know.
No, but my point with that statement is that I've never done a bad show with you guys. Never.
Agree.
Every show has been, people talk about what are the criteria you think about? Well, you think about the money, the part, and the play, and the people you work with. And people are like, as long as you get like most of those, then you should say yes.
Yeah.
But for me, with you guys, every show has been all of them. And because I'm a teacher and I have another gig, I can be very picky about
Sure.
what I spend time away from my family doing.
Yeah.
And you guys are always a yes. Always a yes.
Oh, well, we
Uh,
love that. We love you. We always try to find stuff too that, well, I mean, I read roles and I read a role and I know. I'm like, this is Drake Simpson. And if he says no, forget it.
Does one of them rhyme? Does
I
one
mean,
of them
I
rhyme with
do that.
Pirano?
Is there
Does one rhyme with Pirano?
Pirano? Well, you could play Roxanne.
When
I
we were doing
could.
Midsummer, I remember that was totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Midsummer, we were
We
like,
knew.
Drake is bottom, and
He's
if you
bottom.
can't do it, maybe.
What are we gonna do?
Maybe.
You
Yeah.
had talked to me about that a couple years
Yeah, we
before,
knew.
before you decided.
We're wonderful.
I also knew you
We
were
were
Bill.
wonderful.
I knew you were Bill in Lobby Hero. I had no doubt in my mind.
I
was
was
like,
so happy to be a part of that because I had a history with it, right? Like
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what interesting.
like 15 years before I had, that play had served me well and that
Yeah.
writer, and next year for one act, I'm going to direct, there's a play, it's not completely confirmed,
Yeah.
but I can talk about it. I want to do This Is Our Youth with my
Mhm.
kids
Yeah, same.
because I
A lot of
want them to play, which is the same writer. Yeah, I want
Yeah.
them to have a shot at real success, to be really good, and
Mhm.
not. Man, that's pretty good for high school kids.
Yeah.
I don't want that last caveat. I want, and they're playing kids,
Mhm.
and they're also acting
Great.
things that they've lived,
Yeah.
and sometimes when material's a little bit edgier, they'll let me do it just for contest. And I talked to my principal, and it's like I would completely understand that if that's all you would want us to do.
Yeah.
But I think it would be really great if other high school kids could come see this play
Yeah. It's a good
and
one for
see
this.
themselves up there, because I think people go to the theater to see themselves.
Yes. I agree.
No, I agree. Totally. Yeah.
Even if we're watching Dexter, I'm looking for myself in it, or
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Or that it could happen to you, or that this
Yeah.
guy could live next door to me. Totally. This guy could be my friend.
And then,
Yeah.
or you're empathetic.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
like-
many times high schools, like we're doing next year, we're doing, The Little Mermaid. No high school kid is watching The Little Mermaid going, man, that's me.
I know.
Right up there,
know.
that's me. No,
Okay. That's the one your mom drags you to because you have a little sister.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We're also going to do Clue, but that actually should be a lot of fun.
Oh, that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
They'll
that
love
would.
that. That'll be a lot of fun.
Have you read the play? The play is exactly the movie.
That's what I heard. Yeah. I have
Yeah.
not read the play. Oh, God.
So
Well, Drake, unbelievably, an hour has passed.
I know.
And we commit to you that we won't take any more of your time.
Yep.
So it's time for us to say goodnight.
Say goodnight.
and I almost let something go there earlier. But I didn't.
You didn't.
I didn't.
No.
Anything.
I didn't either.
So thank you so much for taking this time to be with us.
Yeah.
Please say hello to your lovely wife and your kids your kids don't care, but say hi to Ivy. for us.
Yes.
Okay, I will.
Yes.
Thanks. We'll see
All
you
right.
soon.
Yes. It was great to see you. Bye.
Bye-bye,
We'll
guys.
talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We'll
And
stay
everybody
on
else will stay on and give
for a
you a little bit of
second.
news.
But I stopped
Bye,
mine,
Drake.
right?
You
Just drop
sign out.
yourself off.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, everybody. So now we're going to give you a little teaser for next week or 2 weeks from now on June 3rd, right? Thursday, June 3rd, 2 weeks from tonight. We will make a full season announcement. We will have some guests, some special guest stars on in regards to the season. That'll talk a little bit about the projects and what's going on. So you don't want to miss that. So you can hear everything that we've got coming up. Philip also has coming up this summer. We just want to recap with you about.
Yeah, we're getting we're really optimistic that we're going to be able to have a public performances of the Summer Shakes program, which is As You Like It by William Shakespeare, performed by 2 Juilliard students, Erin Goner and Ariana Stuckey, joined by 12 high school students, directed by me. And that'll be the week of July 20th, I think. It's right around there. So mark your calendars, come out and see a Shakespeare play live this summer.
Keep your eye on the webpage and you'll be able to buy tickets. And it's going to be really exciting. We're so thrilled that we get to do this program and get some opportunities to Houston kids. So thanks for joining us. We love getting to spend this time with you. We're going to see you in 2 weeks. Take care.
Beyond the Fourth Wall is produced by Fourth Wall Theater Company, Houston's home for extraordinary performances up close. Each guest is paid for their appearance on this series, in accordance with our mission to pay artists a living wage. Follow the links in the video description to support Fourth Wall with a tax-deductible gift, or to subscribe to our upcoming 10th anniversary season.
We have a fan in the background. I should probably turn it off. That's kind of distracting.
Yeah, it is.
I'll turn it off.
Okay.
So I put him to bed and did all this stuff, and then I came down and poured a beer.